Alrighty, welcome back to Ask Dan Anything. Dan Munro, in accordance with Brojo's laws of the... I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, today we've got another sex question. Now, I get emails like this all the time. One of the biggest issues that have been brought to me is sex lives dying in a long-term relationship, usually because, or partly because, the man has some sort of loss of libido and sexual shame. So this woman's run into me. She's read my blog post about this, and here's what she says. Read halfway through your blog and feel like this is definitely what's wrong with my relationship now. In the beginning, my boyfriend and I had fun. We're sexually attracted to each other. We couldn't stand to be away from one another. That's a warning sign, by the way. We had sex all the time. His moods were better, and I even feel like we were connected more. I believe that this was very liberating to him as he had just left a long, comfortable and sexless relationship of 10 years. My question is, how can I help him understand what I need in order to bring that spark back? We just recently had a baby, he works 12 hours 4 days a week, and I'm starting to feel like we are slipping back into a routine that he had with his previous girlfriend, and I'm deathly afraid of, terrified of that happening. How can I meet his needs so he can meet mine? I like the way you phrase that question, by the way. You know, a give and receive one. So many emails I get like, how do I make him do what I want? Whereas this is one like, how do we help each other? Which is a much healthier response. Because in these situations, it's always 50-50. Whatever he's doing that doesn't help the relationship, you're doing your part as well. And so it's both of you that needs to work on it. At least that's the only frame that's going to have mutual respect. So I can only go with what she's written here, but straight away what stands out to me and what I've seen a lot is an avoidance of direct discussion about sex. Without judgment, without pressure, without expectations, just curious and determined respect. A lot of people, they just kind of hope or hint or use very indirect methods to try and meet their needs or to build a sexual relationship. And this is something that actually needs to be talked straight up, okay? Sex needs to be normalized. So many couples, it's this weird thing for them. You know, the couples that have healthy sexual relationships, sex is a normal part of their lives, okay? It's the same status as just hanging out or eating dinner together or talking about the finances. It's not this extra big thing where you suddenly become all deceptive and indirect. Now, your guy almost certainly, if he's had a long sexless relationship, he's probably got like the nice guy syndrome or something, if he tolerated that for a long time, he's going to have a lot of sexual shame. He's got to have a lot of wrongness attached to sex and sexuality, his masculinity. And so anything like stress, pressure, anxiety, if he's working long hours, he just had kids, whatever, all of that's going to aggravate any shame he has. So the more stressful his life becomes, the more his sexual shame is aggravated and the less likely he is to initiate sex or try to make something sexual happen. Odds are he probably needs professional support if you guys really want to overcome this. You can get in touch with me. Either I can help you or I can put you on to someone else who can. All right. Now, like I said, I love how you're focused on what you both need, and that's the correct approach here. If you're going to have a conversation with him about this, it has to be how do we both benefit, not how do I get you to do what I want. It's really important because if you come at a guy like that, he's going to get defensive. And guess how defensiveness and horniness works together? Not very fucking well, right? He needs to be open, supported, and loved to be shameless. This is going to sound weird. But in order to overcome sexual shame, aside from the professional support to work through the deeper issues, you need to literally plan and structure sex into your week, especially if you're a busy couple with kids, all right? It needs to be given the same status as making dinner, right? It's planned. You do the shopping, you do the cooking, that's all planned into your schedule. Sex needs to actually be done in that way. This romantic idea of free, spontaneous, loving sex, it's all good if you're a fucking teenager, alright? Or if you don't have kids and no obligations. But when you've got a busy-ass lifestyle, you're just going to have to get a little bit more mature about sex, okay? That being said, structuring it into your week can create a lot of pressure. So there has to be no expectations. It can be sexy time, I'd like to call it playtime, but there's no rules. You don't even have to have penetration. Okay, nobody has to orgasm. It just has to be time where the two of you together in an intimate physical way. Okay, there might be some quick sort of go-to things that you can do, like a massage or having a bath together or whatever, that has the elements of sexuality to it, but neither of you needs to be in a good mood, neither of you needs to be horny, neither of you needs to be able to orgasm or perform, and that'll actually open up more kind of sexual behavior. But if you're like, okay, you have to fuck me good Thursday at 9 o'clock, there's no chance, right? It's too much pressure. It has to be a pressure-free environment, but it has to be structured. You can't hope that something will spontaneously happen. You guys have to talk about it and go, how are we going to make this happen? Let's book it in, and let's just take all the pressure off. We'll just, if nothing else happens, at least we'll have good time together, right? Most importantly, during this time, everything that's being thought and felt must be expressed. You need to normalize what's going on during sexual experiences. If one of you's feeling pressured or weird or hoping for something but doesn't want to say it, you got to say all that, okay? Everything. It needs to become normal to be open and honest about sex, sexuality, sexual experiences, okay? And it has to be received without judgment, pressure, advice, anything. Accusations. You know, if you're in bed with him, he's like, oh man, it's just too much pressure, I'm not going to be able to get up. You can't be like, well, have you tried blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. Okay, just be like, that's fine. How about a bath? You know, well, we can just cuddle. It's all good. Relaxing into the idea that, hey, I can go into the bedroom and I feel no pressure to perform, no pressure to make anything special happen. That's ironically the exact environment where performance can happen and special things can happen. If I was you, for both you and him, I'd insist on no porn, no masturbation. There cannot be sexual release or horniness that isn't shared. If either of you are feeling horny while you're away from each other, send each other a dirty text message or something like that, okay? Share every instance of sexuality with each other and keep none of it alone to yourself, at least as a temporary period. So if either of you is horny, you must share it with the other person in some way. And if your man needs to get one out, he has to ask you for it. He can't do it by himself. And the same for you. Alright? As soon as you guys go away and start pleasuring yourselves, now there's nothing actually unhealthy about this when a relationship is sexually healthy, but when it's like the way you describe it, that's just going to create a separateness where you two will get your own needs met and it will actually make it more of a big deal to come together. Lastly, I'd recommend you read the book Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel, because you mentioned something earlier on where you said we couldn't stand to be away from one another. Now, there's a lot of quite solid research and findings by psychologists these days that very affectionate, intimate couples, actually the sex life dies. They're touching too much. They're kind of there's no chance of touching and intimacy leading to sex because what was once foreplay has now just become cuddling. So to actually create a break where you give each other less in order to want each other more, that book really goes through how to do that, and I think it's absolutely one of the top things. So if a guy gets all his intimacy reduced and he's not allowed sex, not allowed masturbation or porn, he'll find his libido again, okay? And then if he's allowed to be whatever he is with you and feels no pressure or judgment around that and can release his shame, your sex life will get back on track. It's a lot of work. It's going to take some uncomfortable conversations, but it's either that or your sex life dies and your relationship usually follows. Okay? If you want that further support, get in touch with me, dan@brojo.co.nz. Most of my work is helping men and couples with this kind of problem, and it is solvable, but it takes a long time. It's not a quick fix. There's a lot of fucking deep, dark issues that go on behind the scenes with this shit. It's not just he's a bit lazy. It's actually he's got huge sexual shame issues, probably going back to teenage or childhood years, and he needs to work through them. And he can work through them with you if you're non-judgmental and loving. Hopefully that helps. Subscribe to the channel if you like that. Share it around if you're bold. And of course, join up with Brojo if you want to get our more exclusive members-only content with the more hard-out stuff. And I'll see you all next time. Cheers.